Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff, and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed still a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat? And I'll say a couple of hellos. Budgie Burger, first one in. Evening, sir. England for the English. What about you, Squire? Yeah. Oh, this black hole story. People need to know about this. Steve Cray. Evening, sir. Just back from the pub. Hope you had a good one. Sansom, what about you, chum? Real Vincent Griffin, he's in the house. See, here's the thing. I've heard the phrase, I've even used it, but it was only this week that I found out what it was, and you're going to be fucking surprised and horrified. October, what about you, sir? Glad to have you aboard. Hashtag, evening, sir. Quack, quack, it's a duck. Evening. Rory Herbert, what about you, sir? Amanda Lee's in the house. Hashtag, I think I said hello. Emma G. Yeah, lurking and snoozing. She had a long day at work today. Martin Based, evening, sir. Rory's telling me the audio's good. Steve, proper big strong one. Excellent. Streaky Bacon. Bass Kawit. Not here. Linda Hunter's in from down under. Somerset Ant. All good will sound. Good, we're good, we're good. Pack has made it in. What about you, sir? Mr. Mortal, good evening. Quite a lot in it. Slim's made it back. What about you, chump? He's in the background. He's doing all work. All good. Glad to have you here. October. I should have said hello. I'm not sure. You might have got to. What about your brother? How's that? Aunt Sally's in. And the ducks are still quacking. And we're all good. All right. Yes. Before I get into the content, I want to do my usual shout outs. First off, tomorrow evening over on Ragnar Ironspear's channel at the earlier time of 5 p.m. Get yourself to Rags early tomorrow. Rags and Jack will be discussing this week's news. Looks like there's no guest this week, but it'll still be a good show. The other thing we've got, Jim Davison streams at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. However, John has not been well of late. I wish him a speedy recovery and hope it all is well. But whether or not he's streaming is going to depend on how his recovery is going. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. The other one like it. I've done this all in the wrong order. Right. So, anybody that made it here from Sansom's stream earlier, where Sansom and Toffee were filling in for Bonnie Lad News in the 8 o'clock slot, a very warm welcome. And if you're here and you don't watch Sansom slash Toffee slash Bonnie Lad News earlier on the Saturday evening. You're missing out because if you like my stuff, you will like their stuff. Okay, we got that. We all good. And Steve Cray has put John Davison's link in the chat. Well done. Thank you. Anglo-Saxon, even brother. Yes, and True Words as well. That was a cracking stream earlier. And the other person I want to give a shout out to is Dave's Waffle House, who does a show in the afternoons, and it's a good show. He does a lot of interaction with the chat. It's a good show, so you probably like that as well. I think that's everything we have for shout outs at the minute. XL Faking, evening mate. What about you? Got your wee pick of the band parade. Very nice, thank you. Sansom is a warm-up act. No, Sansom's we don't do that. We don't have. It's an all-star. It's an all-star. It's an all-star lineup. You get same level of quality, but different content as the evening progresses, and that's how we like it. Oh, yes, and happy Father's Day to everybody for tomorrow. That's a good call. We should mention that. Tomorrow is indeed Father's Day, where we recognise the role that is played by fathers in today's society. Yeah. Martin just I know you're joking. Don't worry. So we're fine. We're cool. It's Toffee in at the moment. He's not. Toffee's still dog walking. We'll get a chat with Toffee later. So that's us up to date with everything, and with that, we're going to get into the content for tonight, and it's the Black Hole of Calcutta. As I said earlier, this is a phrase that I've heard many times. I've even used it, saying it's like the Black Hole of Calcutta in there, while not knowing anything fucking about it. But that changed this week because I learned something about it, and it's quite surprising. So we're going to spread that information, and we're all going to get to know about the Black Hole of Calcutta. So I'm going to share this. Yep. Yes, Toffee's out with the dogs. Right. Share this screen. Right. This is from Historic UK. This is just going to give us a very quick overview. Then we're going to move on to more information. I want to see what this is like on the stream. So, right. We're going to zoom that in a little bit for anybody that wants to follow along. Right, what are we like on StreamYard? Yep, that's good. We're happy with that. So, this is from, again, as I said, the link for this one is in Historic UK. The horrifying story of the Black Hole of Calcutta starts in early 1756. The East India Company, a relative newcomer to the Indian subcontinent, had already established a popular trading base in Calcutta, but this hegemony was under threat by French interests in the area. As a preventative measure, the company decided to increase the defences of its main fort in the city of Fort William. It is important to remember that during these early days of colonial rule, the East India Company had direct control over a small number of strongholds in India. To maintain these strongholds, the company was often forced into uneasy truces with nearby princely states and their ruling new Nawabs. Right. So the rule of law and order was not the way it is today in those days. And if you wanted to protect your property, you had to do it physically, and that was on you. So these companies went over to India and other places, and they built themselves a fort where they could trade from and protect the goods. And this was done under treaty. That of the company representatives would have went out, and there was indeed treaties signed with the Indian governments and whatnot. Says, right, we want to trade with you. They said we want to trade with you because whenever people are having trade, it increases everybody's wealth, and they sign up a treaty. You can go here, here, or here, and put your trading stuff there, and we'll trade with you. Upon hearing of the increased militarization of Fort William, the nearby Nawab of Bengal, Sarjay Undola, rallied together some 50,000 troops, 50 cannons, and 500 elephants, and marched on Calcutta. By June the 19th, 1756, most of the local British staff had retreated to the company's ships in the harbour, and the Nawab's force was at the gates of Fort William. Unfortunately for the British, the fort was in rather poor state. The powder for the mortars was too damp to be used, and their commander, John Seppenhulla Halwin, was a governor with limited military experience and whose main job was tax collecting. With between 70 and 170 soldiers left to protect the fort, Halwin was forced to surrender to the Nawab on the afternoon of June the 20th. Right, so they've got approximately 170 people. There's 50,000 people coming. You've got to surrender. So that is what's going to take us up to the incident and how these people were involved in it. I just want to check the chat. Real Vincent Griffin, what about you, Sean? I don't think it totally worked like that, Streaky, but yeah, I get your point. Calcutta is in India. Later on, we'll come on to the new names for these places. So there is that. Paul likes a Madras curry. Good to know. David Davies has arrived in. Welcome, sir. Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of places have been called the Black Hole of Calcutta. Generally, whenever somewhere is in poor state of repair or a bit stinky, they say that's like the Black Hole of Calcutta. Yes, that is the main thing. Every day above ground's a good one. Right. So what I want to have a look at next is the East India Company. So we'll have a look at who these people are and what to do. So get this screen up. So these people sailed about in these cutter ships that look like this, trading. Let's have a look at what this do. Travel back in time with us to the 17th and 18th centuries. where the East India Company ships played a significant role in the global economy, carrying valuable cargo such as gold, silver, tea, spices, textiles, and more. This is the company's current website. They're still in business. The East India Company were a common sight in ports across the world, with their impressive size and design well admired by all who saw them. The company's fleet included a variety of ships ranging from the smaller vessels used in the coastal trade to large, heavily armed warships that were equipped to navigate the treacherous seas and fend off attacks from pirates and even rival European powers. Despite the dangers, the ships were crewed by skilled sailors who endured months at sea to bring back valuable cargoes to the company's headquarters in London. Right, so this is back in the day whenever you went out, you looked after yourself, and your ships had cannons. One of the most significant cargoes carried by the East India Company ships was gold and silver coins, often stored in chests or barrels. These precious metals were used as a means for payment for goods purchased by the company and were also used to pay the company's employees. Additionally, the company used gold and silver coins as a form of investment, as they could be used to purchase goods or resale in Europe. So they went to India, they bought tea, they give the Indians gold. The Indians could use the gold to buy whatever it was they needed, put in the infrastructure, get the place working better. Everybody's a winner. Transporting gold and silver coins on the East India Company ships was not without risks. Pirates and privateers often targeted the East India Company ships, hoping to capture their valuable cargo. The company took measures to protect its ships and crews, including arming its vessels and hiring experienced sailors. In honor of the company's glorious fleet, we've created the ship 250-gram silver coin bar. Yeah, grift, grift, grift. The East India Company ships can also be celebrated with the creation of Earl Grey tea, which crossed many cultures, borders, and most importantly, seas. The original blend was created when the tea from China arrived into the United Kingdom on company ships and was then blended with European grown bergamot oil in a small London tea house. Today we use Sri Lankan black tea rather than the usual Chinese chamomile tea because we feel it gives a better body. It is incredible to note the significant role the East India Company ships hold on the history of this now globally recognized classic tea brand. And the other thing I wanted to look at, let's see if this takes, no. Right. So, 400 years of cultural impact. Hold on. Right, 1 second. Yep. This is. Hold on. I'll fuck this. I'm going to drop that link out and go and have a look at the chat. Vincent Griffin's Emily Earl Grey. My Emma is lurking and snoozing. She had a very long shift today, and also she's had a bit of a busy week with things going on, and so she's lurking and snoozing. Toffee saying, "What about the chum? Get the dogs all walked?" And we've got Rory, a distant cousin of mine, Thomas Alabaster, was the first in-house acquaintance for the East India Company when it was formed in 1600 under the charter granted by Queen Elizabeth II. You just knew Rory was going to have a connection. There's some things you just know. The sea's going to go in and out. The sun's going to rise, and Rory's going to have a connection to the interesting stories. Actually, I want a cup of tea now. Sorry, just checking through the comments, and then I will get this. Right. Yep, this is what I wanted. Present this up. Share screen. Share screen. So this is off the company's website, and they're plotting the important events for the company. 1550, Spanish and Portuguese dominate the place. Defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. 1592, capture of the 1600, company starts. As Rory just said, Queen Elizabeth I grants a royal charter and establishes the East India Company, and they begin their trading. 1600. 1601, East India Company ship Red Dragon sent to the Spice Islands and returns with pepper. 1607, Hector sails the 10,000 miles to India. 1607. 1608, Hector proceeds to Argyll carrying a letter of introduction from King James I. 1612, the company defeats the Portuguese in the Battle of Swally. 1613, they're trading with Japan. Toffee was talking about who Japan traded with earlier. They must have been one of the very early people that Japan decided to trade with. I like whenever these things are linking up. 1615, the first use of a word for tea in English. 1615, trade agreement with India. I mentioned that earlier. So they were trading in India with agreement. Coffee, 1623, 1639. City of Madras is born. 1648, he's come. Weavers attach East India House. The importance of Indian clothing threatens the English industry. 1690, Calcutta is founded, and William defeats James at the Battle of the Boyne. 1689, free trade with China. 1757, Clive of India wins the Battle of Palsy. 1773, the Tea Act, and somewhere between trade with China and the Battle of Palsy, in between that, we have the incident that we are talking about this evening, which is the dark hole of Calcutta industry. So they're not making a big thing about that on their website. They're keeping on the down low. Just want to check the chat. Yeah, but I bring it up every chance I can. Right, so I'm just checking through the chat. Right. Nothing I really need to get involved with. So we're going to go back to the black hole story. Now we've got a little bit of history about the company, when it was, how we got there, and we're going to look at the black hole detention. we will be repeating a bit of the information. This is from World History Encyclopedia. I want to check what this is looking like on the... Oh, yeah. It's not looking like anything on the screen because I haven't fucking shared it yet. Here we go. Yeah, that's way too small. We're going to zoom this in. Right, let me just check this. Here we fucking go. Right. Just a little swig of liquid, a bit of coffee. Probably should be tea for this stream, but I'm a coffee person. The Black Hole of Calcutta refers to a prison cell which was used to hold 146 mostly British prisoners captured after the Nawab of Bengal had taken over the city from the East India Company. Interred on the 20th of June 1756 in a tiny cell in Fort William. 123 of the prisoners died of dehydration and suffocation. The number of black hole deaths may have been exaggerated, but testimonies to the event actually happening are numerous. The East India Company used the story as justification for taking over Calcutta completely. I'm going to come to this at the end of this. This is where the fuck around and find out comes into things. They fucked around, they found out. It was really the next century, though, that the knowledge of the incident was spread through textbooks and literature as one of a host of equally dubious means to justify Britain's colonial presence in India. Oh, yes, we're saying nothing really happened and it was used as an excuse to do things. Fuck away off. The instant script in the popular imagination can be seen in the long-lasting use of the expression like the Black Hole of Calcutta to refer to any dark and foreboding place. We covered that earlier. In the mid-18th century, the British East India Company was seeking to expand its control of trade in the territory of India. The rich region of Bengal was an obvious target, and Calcutta, that's a new name, became a major trading port for the company. The French East India Company was also present in the region at Chandernagore, further up the coast. Balancing between these two foreign companies, both essentially representatives of their respective governments' imperial ambitions in India. One could also say bringing precious metals to trade for Indian products and therefore kickstarting the Indian economy. Was the Nawab of Bengal, Sir Abdullah, 1773, normally under the sovereignty of the Mongol emperors in Delhi. Sir Abdullah wanted to remove the EIC from Calcutta since it would not pay to improve the city's fortifications. I think we just got through reading about how they were improving the fucking fort. You can't have it both ways. He marched on the place because they were improving the fortifications. You lying bastard. And so he marched in the city in June 1756. A short siege followed and the city fell. Like an evening. A fucking evening was the length of the siege because they had 170 people and you had fucking 50,000. The fate of those captured was the source of an infamous black hole legend. And I want to check the chat. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat. Yep. Shame was one way to put it. Right, okay. Yep. There's nothing there that I really need to get involved with. According to one survivor, the splendidly named John Sappenhauer Howell, 1711 to 1795, he, several officers, officials, and a number of soldiers who had defended Calcutta's Fort William were captured according to the standard version of events. The actual version of events, on the 20th of June, one woman and 140 men, including a number of civilians, were imprisoned in Fort William. Most were British, but there were some Dutch and Portuguese nationals too. In some accounts, the room of confinement was normally. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to correct it. In some accounts, the room of confinement was normally used as an occasional prison cell for petty thieves, but in other accounts, it is a military prison. It's a place where they put petty thieves and they put like one or two of them in it because it was a fucking small space. The single cell measured 5.5 by 4 meters, 18 feet by 14 feet, and had only two small windows and have two small and heavily barred windows, which gave very limited light and air into the dungeon. For those reasons, the cell was known locally as the Black Hole. It was likely the intention to keep the prisoners in the cell for one night only until a more suitable place of incarceration could be found. But a single night in this hellhole was already too much. Well, it'll be fine if there's one or two use, not when there's 150 in there. Suffering extreme heat and humidity, dehydration, and insufficient air, only 23 men survived the black hole. Debate continues today as to the real number of prisoners involved because fucking bleeding heart liberals who hate British people keep trying to lower the number, which may have been much lower. Some modern historians put the figures of those imprisoned at 64 and the number of survivors at 21 because you're rewriting history, you bastards. The fullest account of black hole deaths comes from Howell, a then junior member of the East India Company's governing council in Bengal. He wrote of the events in a genuine narrative of the deplorable deaths of the English gentlemen and others who were suffocated in the black hole in Fort William at Calcutta in the Kingdom of Bengal in the night succeeding the 20th of June 1756. That's a hell of a long-winded title. It was published in 1758. Howell was able to survive because he was fortunate enough to find himself near one of the cell's two windows in the crush of humanity. We had been put in a few minutes. Right. We had been but a few minutes confined before everyone fell into a perspiration so profuse you can form no idea of it. This consequently brought forth on a raging thirst, which still increased in proportion as the body was drained of its moisture. Every man's thirst grew intolerable, and respiration difficult. Now everybody, except those situated in or near the windows, began to grow outrageous and many delirious. Water, water became the general cry. At last I became so pressed and wedged up, I was deprived of all motion. What I would say is there was guards outside that could hear what was going on inside, and they took a decision to A, keep them in there, and B, not give them water. I do. If you're going to rewrite history, please do something original, Budgie. But I get your point. Yeah, well, a lot of them did lay down. Mm. Hall's dramatic account was not without a touch of hyperbole. No, actually, I think it was just fucking accurate. While I was at the second window, I was observed by one of my miserable companions on the right of me. In the expedient of allaying my thirst by sucking my shirt sleeve, he took the hint and rubbed me, rubbed me from time to time of a considerable part of my store, and our mouths and noses often met in the context. So he was drinking the sweat back. Some of our company expired very soon after being put in. Others grew mad and, having lost their senses, died in high delirium. All we could urge, all we could urge to the guard set over us could not prevail on them to either set us at liberty, or separate us into different prisons, which we desired and offered money to obtain. So we're trying to pay them to put them somewhere else, and they just went no, but to no purpose. And when we were released at 8 o'clock the next morning, only 23 came out alive. There are other records where it said the guards laughed whenever they were crying for water. Confined nearly 100 foreigners who fell victim to the claws of the fate of that day in a small room. As luck would have it, in the room where the Ferengis were kept confined, all of them got suffocated and died. Right. The East India Company response. News of the fall of Calcutta and the Black Hole incident stirred the East India Company into action. Robert Clive, who had already won several military victories in the East India Company's name, was dispatched in command of the English East India Company Army. Clive's task was not necessarily to retake the city, but, as the company's real priority was always to make money, to re-establish trade in Calcutta. But he had to make it safe for them to do trade. Clive described the loss of Calcutta as a general calamity, and in a letter to the directors of the East India Company in London, he described the impact of the news of the black hole prisons. Every breast here seems filled with grief, horror, and resentment. Indeed, it is too sad a tale to unfold. Sailing in 5 ships and with an army of some 1,500 men, Clive succeeded in gaining control of the city in January 1757. Clive then met Sir Durdle's army at the Battle of Paisley on the 23rd of June, 1757. Clive won an important victory, and the new East India Company friendly Nawab was installed. Surrey and Durham was executed. Good. I hope they fucking execute him. Mostly. Brought him back to life and then killed the bastard again. And Clive was appointed the governor of Bengal in February 1758. So began the systematic improvement scheme of the region by the East India Company, bringing trade and prosperity. Revenge had been achieved, but the scale of the subsequent suffering of 20 million Bengalese people far outweighed that of the black hole victims. How many of the Bengalese people made a shitload of money out of all that? Did they get running water out of it? Did they get a fucking set of commerce? Did they get the opportunity to improve themselves? Did they get a fucking railroad? Howell, meanwhile, became the acting governor of Bengal in the interim period between the two governorships of Robert Clive and Henry Fiscott. Howell also set up a memorial outside the infamous prison cell. Despite the incident's grip on the popular imagination, there were long rumours that the entire episode was an invention by the British to justify further military conquest. Yeah, because Indian people can't do anything wrong. A notable study by J.H. Leet in 1916, published in Bengal, Past and Present, because they would be totally impartial right enough, cast serious doubt. Yeah. Right, hold on. Right. Yeah, that's as much of that as I can fucking stomach. Exactly. So that is the basis of the Black Hole of Calcutta story. And yep. Yes. Now to lighten the mood, because they're saying that this caused all sorts of problems with the British doing stuff and trying to save it. I will say that this touches on what happened with the so-called plantation of Ulster we were talking about earlier. Last week's stream, we were talking about the plantation of Ulster, and it turns out that the Earl of Tyrone rose up against the crown, and they brought a load of British people over to stop them messing with the natives and bring peace and order. So, going to have a quick look at the fuck around and find out. Right, here we go. Here we go. Set up, it is. Here we go.
About how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. Now there's going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.
That's the basic fuck around and find out axis. But however, I would say that by putting that amount of prisoners in that place and causing them all to suffocate, they fucked around a bit. there is a possibility they found out a little bit more than they intended to, but we can. There is another version how you can end up with disproportionate responses, and we're going to throw that one up now. Right. Get this one up. This is just a little interlude as such. Does that come up? It has.
Hi. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about a different phenomena on this graph here that I think that you need to be aware of. I'm going to use just a hypothetical story that I'm going to completely make up out of my own head that really applies to nobody at all. Okay. So let's say, for instance, there's a comedian and an actor. Okay. They've worked together over the years, maybe not together, but they definitely know each other. They've interacted over the years, and there's nothing new here, right? So let's just say we're at some kind of an event, and the comedian cracks a little joke about the actor's wife. Little joke, no big deal. This is part of the business. So it's just a little bald-faced joke that shouldn't cause any reaction. This is fucking around at a 1 or maybe even a 0, right? But all of a sudden, the actor responds with a level 10, which the comedian finds out right here. So then you would feel like maybe the gradient line should go something like this. But there's an underlying factor here, okay? The comedian fucked around at a level 1. No big deal. But what the actor mistook was that, say, his wife had been fucking around at a 9, right? So that fucking around gets added to the comedian's activities, putting them at a fuck around level of 10. Okay. And that would explain the find out of 10. When the actions of you or somebody else, maybe at a level 1 fuck around, get added with the actions of another, that's called a fuck around entanglement. And what can happen with an entanglement like that is what it can happen is it will rock the axis here, the fuck around axis. All right. And what can happen is if this happens to you repeatedly over time, it can cause you to become jaded. Okay. So just remember that sometimes it may not be your actions that cause the find out, but maybe your actions are entangled with the actions of another, which will rock the fuck around axis, causing you to become jaded. I hope that this lesson is helpful. Thank you.
There you go. And that was just a bit of comedy, but the Bengals maybe think that the East India Company response was a bit over the top. But what they haven't countered for was that the British had been being fucked about with in many different places a lot. And they decided they were taking none of that shit, and they went in hard. Now, let's have a little look at the. See, YouTube's funny with its words. The Nawab of Bengal, the Kahunta, ha 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 ha. And by saying it that way, I don't get in trouble. But let's have a look at what he was like, and what else he did. StreamYards. And I'm also going to have a quick look at the chat. going to go down to this bit. I want to see the chat. So I'm just checking the chat, people. Yep, we're all good. And that's still not looking very big on the screen, so we're going to zoom that in again. Surah Abdullah was one of the most famous and the last self-governing Nawab of Bengal. I wonder why he was the last. Was that because he was a Kahunta? Under his reign, which lasted from April 9th, 1756 to June 23rd, 1757, did you lose a battle? Did you then get executed? Oh dear. Shahja al-Dul stood his ground against the British East India Company. Well, he did whenever it was 5,000 to 170, which had begun capturing parts of Bengal, had begun trading under treaty. Shahja al-Dul was one of the few Indian rulers who knew the intentions of the British right from the beginning, which prompted him to act against British colonization in Bengal. Shahja al-Dul's strong resistance against British led to the famous Battle of Palsy, during which the Nawab of Bengal was deceived by a group of his own men. Headed by Mir Jaffa, apart from costing Shahja al-Dul his victory against the British, Mir Jaffa's betrayal also went on to play a crucial role in the history. Oh, did your own people think that's a fucking crazy bastard cunt that's willing to kill people for no reason whatsoever and say, let's get rid of him and get people in that's going to treat us better? Could that possibly be what happened? Could it be? Maybe. Have you considered this? As it opened the gates for the British to conquer Bengal and later the whole of the Indian subcontinent. We could replace the phrase conquer to brought order and prosperity to. But Shahja al-Dul was born in Murshidabad in the year of 1733. He was born into a Nawab of Bengal family to mark Mughal aristocrat Ahmed Khan and his wife Ahmed Begum, who was a Bengal aristocrat. Al-Dul was raised at the place of the Nawabs and was provided with required training and education needed to be qualified as a future Nawab of Bengal. So he was born into wealth. And he was trained to look after the place. Shahja al-Dul was close to his maternal grandfather, Alivar Khan, who took special care of him right from his birth. He even accompanied Alivar Khan in one of his military campaigns against the Martha forces in 1746. In May 1752, Alivar Khan, the then Nawab of Bengal, declared Shahja al-Dul as his successor. When Alivar Khan passed away 4 years later, on April 10, 1756, the 23-year-old Shahja al-Dul became the Nawab of Bengal. However, Shahja's nomination to the Nawabship gave rise to jealousy among many, including his relatives. Maybe they thought he was too young to be trusted with that important position. Maybe could they have thought, yeah, he doesn't have the wisdom that comes with age and experience that's needed in order to rule over a people. Maybe he'll do something crazy. The new Nawab of Bengal was welcomed by animosity and resentment, which he failed to notice at first, as all the negative feelings were hidden behind the faces of his own relatives, including his aunt Ghazal Begum and his cousin Surat Jung. As days passed, Shahja al-Dul realized that he could face a massive challenge from his aunt, as she possessed serious wealth, which she was using to influence men within the court. Hence, Shahja al-Dul acted by seizing her wealth and placing her under confinement. Yeah, his aunt. Once he got the power, he took his aunt's money and put her in fucking in prison. This initial and crucial move by the Nawab made sure he faced no rebellion from within the court. Do you know what? Maybe you fucked up the whole history of India there, because maybe you wouldn't have found out at 11. You wouldn't have found out at 11:52 if you hadn't have fucked around the way he did. At least during the initial phase of his administration. Sajah al-Dawla then went on to make certain key changes in high government positions. One of his most trusted officers, Mir Madan Khan, was made the new paymaster of the forces, and Hundi Kishta named Mullah was elevated to the position of Nawab Supreme Dawah Sajah al-Dawla. I don't give a fuck that I'm butchering these pronunciations. I'm not even trying. Decision to promote a Hindi to such a high-ranking position at the head of the armed forces. Marja, this cunt could get on with nobody. Major Jafar, who took Mullah's promotion as a personal insult, which he would never forget. Oh yeah, hold a grudge. That really good way to run a country, John. Really. As a Nawab of Bengal, Sari al-Dawla took special interest in the development of the East India Company, as he was well aware of the intention of the British from the very beginning. Hence, he could not stand the sight of the British in Bengal. Really? Is that why you killed those people? Because they were British? Because I'm pretty sure that's just a little bit racist. What increased his animosity towards the British was their decision to strengthen the fortification around Fort William. Yeah, but did we not read earlier that it was because he wouldn't defend, they wouldn't fix the defences of the city? Make up your fucking mind, people. Without seeking the Nawab's permission. Oh, he wanted them to, he thought they needed permission to fucking fix up their own place that they were supposed to have under the fucking trade agreement. He also condemned the British for misusing the trade privileges that were granted to them by the Mughals and for sheltering some of his estranged officers. Oh, people deserted and they went to the British because they treated them better than what you did. Is that what happened? Who had committed certain fraudulent acts. Any evidence? While he was already mad with the British, the East India Company started strengthening its fortifications around Fort William further. When an irate Nawab asked the British to stop, they failed to pay heed to his words, earning the wrath of the Nawab of Bengal. Sorry, I'll retaliated by gathering his forces, leading to an attack in the British with areas of Calcutta. He managed to capture Calcutta in June 1756, took over control of Fort William. After the captives were found in a small prison, which came to be known as the Black Hole of Calcutta. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Propaganda. The jealousy and the to Salah al-Dawla's court never died down, while Mir Jafar was still angry over Mughals' promotion. The traders of Bengal were not happy with the Nawab's administration. No shit, as they never felt safe about their wealth under him. After learning about a conspiracy at Sarge Court, which aimed at overthrowing the Nawab, the court representatives of East India Company informed Robert Clive about the impending conspiracy. Right, I'm just skimming through this. Right, we're going to the Battle of Palsy. The British forces of 3,000 soldiers led by Robert Clive were outnumbered by Sal al-Dawla's army, which had 50,000 soldiers, 10 war elephants and 40 cannons. The same mob that killed the people in the Black Hole. However, Sarah al-Dawla did not know about Mir Jafar's conspiracy against him, which would later prove to be decisive in the battle. During the battle, Sarah al-Dawla's most trusted officer, Mar Maran Khan, was fatally wounded. Upon learning about Mar Maran Khan's demise, Sarah al-Dawla called upon Mar Jaffa and Rar to seek their advice. The Nawab was then advised to withdraw his army and return to Murshidabad. He was further told that the battle will be taken care of by Mar Jaffa and his men. Hence, Sari al-Dawla mounted a camel and started his journey towards Murshidabad along with 2,000 horsemen. Robert Clive took advantage of the situation and attacked. Sara al-Dawla's retreating forces, not anticipating such an attack, Sara al-Dawla's men fled the scene, marred by conspiracy and betrayal, and eventually lost the battle and was forced to escape, only to be caught later by Mar Jaffar's men, and then he was executed. Seems like your army was shit, mate. And with that, I'm going to have a look at the comments. So that's him. Right, sorry, just checking. Just checking the comments. Right. Okay. So there we go. There's what he was like. We now know about the Black Hole of Calcutta. What's Rick saying? My two grandparents were married in Baghdad when it was part of India. None of my friends had heard of that town until Osama bin Laden was terminated by US Navy SEALs in 2011. There's something a bit strange about that action because apparently all of the American Army, all the British Army spent, I don't know how many years it was, but it was probably close to 20 years looking for Osama bin Laden. And then eventually they found him in his house. Something's not making a lot of sense there. Right. Now, where are we? We've done that. Summer solstice. Right, hold on. Right, I think what we'll do now is we shall I think he's dead. I think that quite early on in the conflict, Bin Laden was killed by missiles or whatever. They never retrieved the body. And the they never retrieved. And they're going to come to that in a second. They never retrieved the body. The Afghans were saying that he was still alive, and after a certain amount of time, the Americans call their bluff and says, "We've found him, we've killed him, and if you want to prove he's alive, you're going to have to fucking dig him up." And he was then accepted as being dead. Actually, no. Nobody knew where either of those people were living because they slept in a different house every night. But the other thing is, the British Army did not spend 20 years trying to assassinate them. In fact, if anything, they spent 20 years trying to make sure that they stayed alive. and had they decided to assassinate them, they would have been dead. Now, 1 second. I think we're going to go to our strange sport. And this week, it is truly a strange sport. This is normally whenever the commentary's on for the strange sport, I shut up and just let it roll. But I'm going to talk over this one because the commentary's on foreign and I can make as much sense out of it as anyone else. So let me get this up. Share the screen. Here we go. And in the comments, you can tell me what you make of this. So we've got a bunch of guys.
Il calciante che rientra in campo. Straordinario.
They're sitting on top of the other players. And we do have two teams here. One's in red, one's in... What the fuck? This is the same game, people. This is the... this is currently watching the boxing element of the game.
Negli ultimi 3 sono allenamenti veramente tosti che questi ragazzi fanno.
This is happening, right, and here's the bit where we've got the ball.
C'è veramente tanta passione, c'è veramente tanta passione.
This is where a sporting game breaks out in the middle of a fight.
Nessun intervento reale dei spugnaioli e della sanità.
Io vedo per la Gallo
again, we've got the boxing element going.
Vedi, è libero, è sempre libero.
È libero, gestisce
dei rossi, diciamolo.
E corre a porre rimedio dove serve.
And the guys making a rumble the ball.
Nella fase si comincia a vedere il gioco offensivo. I rossi probabilmente.
Someone's made a charge and went for the ball carrier.
Ora si va a cercare la palla.
Oh, they got the ball away. And they're making a break up the other way.
Ecco il movimento. Adesso si prova a fermare.
Now we can see the referee is blue for something here. I was thinking it might have been a foul of some script, but it's not. It's got the impasse, and they're going to start a game with contested throw-in. And again, this team's got the ball, and the people further forward, they're this is the all-in wrestling section of the game. I think we'll have a bit of kickboxing coming in.
Sono praticamente gli sconciatori questi, questi sono gli sconciatori che si stanno
fra l'altro nel tentativo di assalto rosso fermato Salvatore Serra è entrato in difesa, ha subito un colpo e è stato soccorso proprio da Petrogallo.
Un'icona, Serra è un'icona del calcio.
Due calcianti di assoluta esperienza e peso che si sono aiutati a vicenda.
Dunque,
this is the best, probably the best strange sport I've found so far.
Eccoci.
We're going to watch about another minute or so. There's quite a good bit coming up. Yep, we've got the kickboxing.
Primo la scelta del gioco a 10 minuti e mezzo dall'inizio.
Marco Casamassima che viene espulso e quindi dovrà lasciare il terreno di gioco. Però ancora vediamo se si vede uscire o meno. Stiamo guardando perché sicuramente uscirà rispetto alla nostra postazione sulla sinistra.
Sì, lo stanno accompagnando fuori. Non è molto
convinto, però vediamo che viene
There's somebody's going off injured.
accompagnato.
Oh, yes.
Scontri durissimi e non riusciamo a vederli bene.
No.
A bit of a furrow here where somebody went over the board.
Il capitano degli azzurri interviene a riportare un po' la calma.
Buoni,
I
buoni.
think this might be quite an important bit
Buoni, buoni.
of the match. Might be a bit of tremendous skill or something that they're going to zoom in on.
Rientra tutto nella
Se
regola.
noti, gli azzurri hanno riconquistato tutto il terreno perduto nei primi minuti.
Sì, sì.
Anzi, ora si può dire che sono sulla metà campo anche un metro avanti.
Quasi 12 minuti
Yes,
della partita.
this must be important. We've got the action replay.
Totale con
straight over the advertising.
in palio la finale che vede già i bianchi aspettare la vincente di quest'oggi.
Now I want to go back and check the comments. Anglo's loving it. Mad game. Martin Bass Dragon looks like Millwall. Right, I'm going to bring up the information on this because there is actually some. I should be able to find it here in the comments. Okay, I'm going to write it here so you can all read it if you're interested. This is called Calico Story Florentino, and it's an ancient sport played since Greeks and Roman times. It was called Harpuste in Latin. It is played in Florence since the Middle Age, but the modern time people play it to commemorate a particular moment in Florence history when the Spanish Empire sieged the city and the people. To show that they were not scared or worried, started to play this game. They started to play this game officially 1530. There are 4 teams. Usually one team plays only 2 games every year, the semi-final and the final, and these are the 4 Florence districts: the red, blue, white and green. Every team has 27 players and they need to score throwing the ball in the opponent's net, which is the width of the field. In order to do that, they need to create a way by fighting, but there are rules for that. Basically, you cannot fight 2-on-1. You cannot hit players from behind, and you cannot hit a player if he's on the ground. I just want to point out that all these men are not paid. They're all volunteers, and no one has ever died during a game. It's just something that Tuscans do with pride and joy, and there was a lot of pride and joy being shown there. So there is that. Comment of the evening. It's Billy Blogs probably writing that. Billy Blogs is straight in there. Yep, indeed. Fair play to him, Anglo. The comment that explained the game, Billy. The one that I was reading out. Florence, which is in Tuscany. I'm not 100% sure where Florence is. My European geography is not fucking brilliant. I know where countries are, but I don't know which. I'm not quite sure what. I thought Florence was in France, but that did not look like French people. Yeah, the French being cheese-eating surrender monkeys, I doubt we'd actually play that game. But anyway, we shall move on, and we're going to have a bit of a look at summer solstice, because has that? Yeah, I think it's Italy. Yeah, Edmonds all over it. There we go. Florence, Tuscany is in Italy. There's a different Florence in France, and that's what was throwing me off. Yep. Right. So we're going to talk a little bit about the summer solstice, because the summer solstice is approaching. It's on the 21st of June, and we're going to have a quick look at Stonehenge to start with. Now, if you want the in-depth version of summer solstice with all the traditions put out, there's a link in the description to last year's show on the summer solstice, which covers everything in depth. As I said recently, as we started to come back around on the subjects that we've already covered, I'm not doing last year's content this year, but I'm not going to let what is arguably the largest British cultural tradition and historic tradition that we've had just go by and say nothing about it. So I'm going to do a little bit about Stonehenge. Heralding the return of light and warmth, the day's longest day is a ritual as old as time, one that holds religious significance for many groups, including Druids, Wiccans, and other neo-pagans. But it's by no means only a religious celebration. People of all faiths and none gather on the day of the solstice to share the universal experience of the changing of the seasons. Celebrations of midsummer in the British Isles reaches back centuries, with various festivals falling around the longest day. In the Christian area, these were assimilated with feast days such as St. John's Eve and St. Peter's Eve. Certain themes have long run through the festivities. One of them is light, with bonfires and fireworks always featuring prominently. In rural areas, intrepid revelers would take turns to leap over smouldering fires. Wrong time of year for that. That happened at Bale. It's that happens spring equinox is when we'll do that. The practice is thought to bring good luck to lovers and harvests alike. William Shakespeare may have set his Midsummer Night's Dream in ancient Athens, but its choice of themes reflect the prominence of the midsummer of 16th century England. At the time, Mars dancing, crop blessing, devil banishing rituals were common rites, along with plenty of good old-fashioned drinking. This all sounded like too much of a good time to the Puritan killjoys of the Reformation, who put an end to midsummer and other pagan festivals in the 16th century. Happily, though, the interest in paganism began to be revived in the 19th century, and today Britain's wealth of Neolithic sites makes it one of the most magical countries worldwide to celebrate the solstice. In the Northern Hemisphere, summer solstice marks a point where the North Pole is at its closest tilt to the sun and is therefore consequently the longest day of the year. Summer solstice falls on 21st of June, and here are some of the best places. Stonehenge. Every year, upwards of 10,000 revelers descend on Stonehenge for what is the closest thing to a summer solstice festival on British shores. It's a diverse event. Berobed druids observe formal ceremonies amid the stones, while all around them a more secular affair unfolds with food trucks, boombox music, glow sticks, and dancing. The main event is, of course, sunrise, when the first rays of the dawn crest the mighty hailstone and illuminate the centre of the stone. For many visitors, it is the most magical part of the experience, and it is an opportunity to touch the stones, which is only allowed for this one day of the year. It is important to be respectful, though, and remember that the stones hold religious significance for many people. Avebury in England, just 24 miles north of Stonehenge. It's less famous, but just enigmatic and beautiful. A collection of 3 ancient circles of craggy standing stones, fluffy sheep gravy in their fleet, right in the heart of a modern village. There are 2 other Neolithic sites within walking distance: the chamber tomb of West Cannock's Longbrow and the mysterious man-made Salisbury Hill. All this stuff was man-made, making this complex one of the most spiritually charged places of which to observe the solstice. Solstice at Avebury is more peaceful and family-friendly affair than Stonehenge, but it's by no means sedate. The Red Lion pub overlooking the stones is a social spot to begin the celebrations before fire dancers, musicians, and dancers put on a show around sunset, kicking off drumming dancing, which continues until dawn. Brian Cardrew, Wales. Atmospherically translating as the mound in the dark grove, Brian Drew sits on the island of Anglesey and is one of the most famous Neolithic monuments in Wales. As a testament to the ingenuity of the tomb's ancient architects, its opening is alive with the sun shines directly into the inner chamber just one day each year at dawn and summer solstice, which is similar to but different to Newgrange that we looked at last week, which has the same thing only on winter solstice. This is a place to celebrate in peace, appreciating the beauty of Anglesey's countryside and meditating the spiritual significance of the changing seasons. Celebrants gather here to light a bowl of fire, play instruments, and make offerings to the forces of nature. Afterwards, throughout the longest day, workshops of flint knapping, poetry, and rock art are held here. They all fit very well together, don't they? And Shetland, Scotland. The further north you travel in the UK, the longer the summer day. And in the Scottish island of Shetland, the sun barely sets at all in midsummer. A golden orb that seems to hover above the horizon before rising again in a new day. Summer twilight is marked by a variety of ways across Shetland, from the colourful floats of Luik Midsummer's Carnival to the embalming of Simmer Dim Gin, socially brewed at Saxford, the UK's northerliest distillery. For celebrations with a difference, though, head to the Summer Day Rally, where the crackle of motorcycling exhaust shatters the silence over Albury, and revelers celebrate to the longest day with live music, food, and beer. So that's a quick overview of British solstice traditions. I think it's free to enter, but there is like a £10 parking charge. It's a different diverse. It's not the normal one. It's different groups of British people doing British shit that happened at different times. An old school friend of Rory's became a chief druid. He led many of the celebrations at Stonehenge. 30 quid. Yeah. Now, where we're going to after that is a little bit of information about Stonehenge. We'll have a quick look at Stonehenge. And this is coming from Britannica, and that needs to be made larger. Stonehenge, prehistoric stone circle monument cemetery, an archaeological site located on Salisbury Plain, about 8 miles, 14 kilometres north of Salisbury, Wiltshire, England. There is no definitive evidence as to the intended purpose of Stonehenge. It was presumably a religious site and the expression of the power and wealth of the chieftains, aristocrats, aristocrats and priests who built it, many of whom were buried in the numerous burrows close by. It was aligned on the sun and possibly used for observing the sun and moon and working out the farming calendar. Or perhaps the site was dedicated to the world of the ancestors, separate from the world of the living or the healing centre. Well, it was used by the Druids, not Celtic priests. I will be going on to Celtic bullshit momentarily, but the Druids were not Celtic priests. Sorry to fucking burst your bastard bubble. It's doubtful, but present day Druids gather there every year to hail the midsummer sunrise. Oh, sorry. Let me read this sentence in its entirety. Well, it was used by the Druids, Celtic priests, is doubtful. It's fucking impossible. Looking towards the sunrise, the entrance of the northwest points over a big pillar, now leaning on an angle called the heel stool. Looking the other way, it points to midwinter sunset. The summer solstice is also celebrated by huge crowds of visitors. Stonehenge was built in 6 stages between 3000 and 1000 or 1520 before Christ. During the transition from the Neolithic period, New Stone Age, to the Bronze Age, as a prehistoric stone circle, it is unique because it is artificially shaped Saracen stones, blocks of Chanzo's saccharide, arranged in post and lintel formation, and because of the remote origin of its smaller bluestones, igneous and other rocks from 100 to 150 miles away in South Wales, the name of the monument probably derives from the Saxon Stan Hallen, meaning stone hanging or gallows, along with more than 350 nearby monuments and hinges. Ancient earthworks consisting of circular bank and a ditch, including in the kindred temples at Avery. Stonehenge was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986, which is why you're only allowed to touch the stones on one day a year. Because heaven forbid people get to fucking interact properly with their heritage. UNESCO do not like that. Stonehenge has long been the subject of historical speculation, and ideas about the meaning and significance of the structure continue to develop in the 21st century. English antiquarian John Irby in the 17th century and his counterpart archaeologist William Suckery in the 18th century both believed the structure to be a Druid temple. This idea has been rejected by more recent scholars, however, as Stonehenge is now understood to have predated by some 2,000 years the Druids recorded by Julius Caesar. And the Druids recorded by Julius Caesar were not Celtic. In 1963, American astronomer Jared Hawkins proposed that Stonehenge had been constructed as a computer to predict lunar and solar eclipses. Other scientists also attributed astronomical capabilities to the monument. Most of these speculations, too, have been rejected by experts. In 1973, English archaeologist Colin Ronfew hypothesized that Stonehenge was the center of a confederation of Bronze Age chieftains. Other archaeologists, however, have since come to view this part of Salisbury Plains as a point of intersection between the adjacent prehistoric territories, serving as a seasonal gathering place during the 4th and 3rd millennia before Christ for groups living in the lowland and the east west and the east and west. In 1998, Megalsey archaeologist Robinson proposed that Stonehenge was built as a monument to the ancestral dead, the permanence of its stones representing the eternal afterlife. In 2008, British archaeologists Tim Darville and Jeffrey suggested on the basis of the Ansbury Archer, an early Bronze Age skeleton with a knee injury, excavated 3 miles from Stonehenge, that Stonehenge was used in prehistory as a place of healing. However, analysis of the human remains from around and within the monument show no different from any other parts of Britain in terms of the population's health. If you want my 2 pence on it, it's a place for people to gather. And the reason why it was built is you need to bring the community together to build something this size, and then it was used for religion, for religious ceremonies, and a place for people to gather. The Stonehenge that is visible today is incomplete, many of its original saracens and bluestones having been broken up and taken away, probably during Britain's Roman and medieval periods. The ground within the monument has also been severely disturbed, not only by the removal of the stone, but also by digging to various degrees and ends since the 16th century, when historian and antiquarian William Cullen noted that ashes and pieces of burnt bone were found. A large deep hole was dug within the stone circle in 1620 by George Phillies, 1st Duke of Buckingham, who was looking for treasure. A century later, William Suckley surveyed Stonehenge and its surrounding monuments, but it was not until 1874-77 that the Flinders Petrie made the first accurate plan of the stones. In 1877, Charles Darwin dug 2 holes in the Stonehenge to investigate the earth-moving capabilities of the earthworms. The first proper archaeological excavation was conducted in 1901 by William Goland. About half of Stonehenge, most of the eastern side, was excavated in the 20th century by archaeologists William Hotley in 1919 to 26, Richard Atkins 1950-78, and the results of the work were not fully published until 1995. However, when the chronology of Stonehenge was revisited extensively by means of carbon-14 dating, major investigations in the early 21st century by the research team of the Stonehenge Riverside Project led to further revisions of the context and sequence of Stonehenge. Timothy Dribble of Jeffrey Wright's 2008 excavations was smaller but nonetheless important. Stonehenge was built within the area that was already special to Mesolithic and Neolithic people. About 8,000, 7,000 before Christ, early Neolithic hunter-gatherers dug pits and erected pine posts within 650 feet, 2,000 meters, 200 meters of Stonehenge's future location. It was unusual for prehistoric hunter-gatherers to build monuments, and there are no comparable structures from this era within Northwest Europe. Within a 3-mile radius of Stonehenge, there remain from Neolithic period at least 17 long burial mounds and two curious monuments along enclosures, all dating from the 4th millennia, 4,000 years before Christ. Between 2022, between 2200 and 1700 before Christ, during the Bronze Age, the Stonehenge Darrington stretch of the River Avon was at the centre of a concentration of more than 1,000 round barrows for this part of Salisbury Plain. The oldest part of the Stonehenge monument was built during the period from 3000 to 293 before Christ and consists of the circular enclosure that is more than 330 feet, 100 metres in diameter, enclosing 56 pits called the Aubrey Holes, named after John Aubrey, who identified them in 1666. So we've got way back 3,000 years before Christ, they're starting to make circles. The ditch of the enclosure is flanked on the inside by a high bank and on the outside by a low bank or a counterscarp. The diameters of the outer bank and inner bank and the circle of Aubrey Holes are equivalent to 270, 300 and 330, 360 feet long. A long foot is an ancient measurement equivalent to that, respectively. Deposits at the bottom of the ditch include antler picks, which were used to dig the ditch itself. So they're digging a bit of antler, it breaks, they'll throw it down and let it sit there. As well as the bones of cattle, deer, that were already centuries old when they were placed there. The circular enclosure had two entrances, the main access of the northwest and narrower access on the south. Although it once believed that Aubrey Holes served as pits for wooden posts, excavation and aerial research by the Stonehenge Riverside Project revealed that they were probably held Welsh bluestones. Human cremation burials were found within and around most of the holes, as well as within the encircling ditch and bank. Of an estimated 150 to 240 cremation burials at Stonehenge, 64 have been excavated by the first decade of the 21st century. Actually, I want to take a quick look at the chat. What a surprise. It's been commercialized. Mouse Cat sounds hard rock. All right. The great majority of the burials were of adult males, and pieces of unburned human bone were also found scattered around Stonehenge. The area surrounded by Aubrey Holes was used as a place of burial from roughly 3,000 to 2,300 before Christ. It's the largest known cemetery from the 3rd millennium in Britain. So we're bringing people there to bury them. I think this has got something to do with life, death, celebrations. Second smaller blue stone circle, 30 feet in diameter and known as Blue Stonehenge, was built on the bank of River Avon, over 1 mile from the Aubrey Holes, found by the Stonehenge Riverside Project in 2009. It consists of around 25 Welsh bluestones and may have been used for cremating and removing the flesh from some bodies whose remains were buried and scattered at Stonehenge. Blue Stonehenge's stones were later dismantled and presumably brought to Stonehenge, because that's a really good idea to do with an ancient site. Let's take some stuff from somewhere else and bring it into it and mix it all the fuck up. Most of the surviving 45 original bluestones of Stonehenge are of spotted dolomite, from southwest Wales, specifically the Presley Mountains. Other stones of Ritterite volcanic ash and dorite are believed to be from the same region. A source for one of the rhyolites, however, was identified in 2011 as Point Season, north of the Pastels. The altar stone, the toppled upright, so called because it looked like a 17th century architect Indigo Jones. Is that where Indiana Jones came from? Like the altar at the centre of the monument. And another two sandstone monoliths likely came from Brecon Beacons and a cluster of mountains about 60 miles east of the Presley Range. Although most experts consider these Welsh stones to have been brought by human agency, some geologists argue that they might have been carried towards the Salisbury Plain thousands of years earlier by Ice Age glaciers. The hailstone, the large unmarked Saracen outside the northeastern entrance, may also have been erected during the first stage of Stonehenge, if not earlier. In addition, the rows of timber post holes within the northwest entrance of the circular enclosure are thought to date from this period. The posts that they contain may have served to mark the monument towards its northern major limit. Right, I'll tell you what I'm getting out of all this. It's all might, could have been, possibly. Second stage seems to be where they put up these stones that you're looking at in the wee picture. Except for human burials, there's no evidence of activity between Stonehenge's first and second stages of construction. Around 2500 before Christ, the Saracen stones were brought from every area of the Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles to the north. Outside the northeast entrance of Stonehenge, they were dressed smooth by pounding with Saracen hammers. They were then arranged inside the circle in a horseshoe-shaped setting of 5 tall tralfons, paired uprights with a lintel, the central and largest of which is known as a giant tralfon, surrounded by 30 uprights linked by curved lintels to form a circle. The stones appear to have been laid out systematically in units and subunits of the long foot. The circumference of the Saracen circle is 300 feet. The lintels, weighing some 7 tons each, are held on top of the uprights by mortise and by dovetail joints, and the ends of the curved lintels of the Saracen circle fit together with tongue and groove joints. All the joints were created using hammerstones, presumably an imitation of woodwork. Most of the Saracen uprights weigh around 25 tons and are about 18 feet high. The uprights of the giant tralfon, however, were 29 feet and 32 feet high, weighing more than 45 tons. Only one of the giant tralfon uprights still stands, reaching the height above the ground of 23 feet. Only 6 lintels out of a total of 230 sit in place on the Saracen circle, with 2 more lying on the ground. 3 of the 5 Saracen tralfons lintels are in place, with the other 2 on the ground. 4 of the upright form the Saracens are absent, and one is much shorter than the others. Although it is possible that the Saracen circle was never completed, the existence of a hole for an absent Saracen suggests that this stone and others were reused as construction materials for Roman buildings and medieval churches in the vicinity. The blue stones were observed by Atkins to have been arranged in a double arc, which for convenience he called the Q and R holes. Atkins' record suggests that the Q holes predated the Saracen circle, but Devlin and Warrington's excavation in 2008 cast doubt on this strategic relationship. It is more likely that the blue stones in the arc were indeed constructed as part of the Saracen circle and Triumphal monument, with bluestones brought from Albury holes. Bluestones may have been brought to Stonehenge at this time or slightly later. From bluestone, I think this is way too much detail. This is way too much detail to fucking make head and your tail off for me. What I want is a diagram of Stonehenge. Right. We've got the hailstone here. Slaughter stones in front of it. We've got an entrance. We've got north's going this way. North, south. We've got an entrance from the east, which is the direction sun will be rising from. We've got a hailstone here. We've got slaughter stones. Then we've got these blue stones, or the sail holes that they were talking about. They're placed in the inner circle round the stone monument. So two circles of holes. Then we've got the stones themselves, which form a complete circle, and then you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bigger ones inside. That's basically what it looks like. I think got a lot of other stuff. It's too much information to take in. I might at some stage try to come up with a way of explaining this and ages and stuff, but that's going to be a shitload of work. I will get it done, but I'm not going to try to read all of that Stonehenge stuff tonight because even reading it, it sounded like gobbledygook. With that, I am going back to the comments. But don't forget, we're not indigenous. We've only been here 40,000 years. Please don't conflate the Maoris of New Zealand with us at this point because they are indigenous after 1,000 years. Broken silence, good evening, chum. What about you? This is also true. Right. Nah. That's all I'm doing on Stonehenge at the moment. Oh, yes. We have our... This could become a regular thing. We're going to do our necessary Celtic bullshit. Here we go. This is going to be coming from world history, etc. And we're only going to look at a very little bit of this. Here we go. Summer solstice and its Celtic traditions, and a nice picture of Stonehenge. In 2016, the summer solstice will be celebrated on the 20th of June, with people across the world marking the event in various ways. Read about the time-honoured, world-famous Celtic traditions for the summer solstice below, with a picture of Stonehenge. Slight problem, motherfucker. Celts did not build Stonehenge. It comes from Those stones date to like 3000 BC. And then there's the other stuff that was before that. Well, use Celts to think that you built that. Let's have a little look at the receipts. Go to page. I found this by typing in when did the Celts come to Britain. Who were the Celts? The Celts were a number of tribes that could be found in Western and Central Europe, including Britain and Ireland. They lived in Britain from roughly 570 BC to 4243 AD. Strangely, that's the same year that I had them coming to Ireland in last week's stream. So your Celtic Stonehenge theory, you just weren't here to build it. It is not true. Right. Nah. What are we like? We've done an hour and 51 minutes. It is 20 past 12. Now, here's what I'm going to do now. If anybody wants to come on and have a little chat, feel free to do so. I'm going to gibber with you for another couple of minutes and see if anybody does decide to come in. And if not, I'm going to wrap this up. Broken silence. I might go to Henge with my mate at Solstice or maybe Alvery Ring. They're just a short car drive from where I live. I live in a small council flat, but people are welcome to crash down there if they want. That's a very nice offer. Broken silence. I live in a small council flat also, but if scrubs are coming over to Belfast, they're welcome to crash here too, by the way. But I'm a bit conflicted with Stonehenge on summer solstice because it has been bastardized. Not only by 1 second, I need to cough and. Good evening, sir.
Evening 42. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, coming through loud and strong. How's yourself?
Not so bad.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Yep, I was saying I'm a bit conflicted about going to Stonehenge on summer solstice because of the way the celebrations there have been. There's too much stuff going on. There's about 3 different groups attempting to have their own thing going on, and I don't think they all actually gel with each other. Pretty hard to have a druid ceremony with a rock band going.
Well, yes, I think that's right. Stonehenge is only 20 or so miles up the road from me. I pass it all the time on the road. I don't know whether did you receive that see that comment in the chat about them planning to build a tunnel underneath it.
Is this to take traffic away from it?
Yeah, basically, yes, because it's on the A303 in southwest England, and of course, when everyone goes past Stonehenge, they slow down, so it slows down all the traffic, and especially on bank holidays and things, it just comes to a complete and utter halt. But I'm against it personally. I think, well, hey, find another route. But if they dig, well, they're not going to dig directly under Stonehenge 42. But even if they dig 200 meters away from it, they're going to dig up the old burial grounds of the Anglo-Saxons, which are there.
I've got this radical idea. See along that stretch of motorway? Put up a wall.
A what?
A wall.
A wall?
Yeah. At the edge of the motorway. And then the cars won't be able to see Stonehenge.
Yeah, but I disagree with you, 42. People should be able to see it.
Right, yeah. Well, or, I don't know, maybe, how big a problem is cars going along the road?
Well, generally speaking, it's not. But
right.
On bank holidays, as I said, on bank holidays, when everyone's heading down to the West Country for their holidays, it gets totally jammed up.
They could, beside that stretch of motorway, put in a crawler lane. And if you want to go into this stretch of road that's going to be 30 miles an hour and take the hit in your time for that, you have an option of going into that and let everybody that doesn't want to do that go on quicker. And if there's no space for you in the crawler lane, you don't get to slow down.
Well, yeah, that's not a bad idea. 42. I mean, they haven't done anything about it. They've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years now. I mean, way before the COVID thing. But so nothing's happened. I think the council just doesn't have the money to do it, or the government doesn't have the money to do it.
Yeah, the real Vincent Griffin is saying that the same thing happens with the Angel of the North.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. How are things in Belfast?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We've had the unidentified flying object in the sky over Belfast most of the last 2 weeks, and it's turning everybody a different color. So that's been nice. The sun. Yeah,
well, that's good. How's the weather? How's the weather there?
Oh, the weather has been absolutely lovely.
I mean, same here down in Dorset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nah.
Almost too hot. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had a skiff of rain this evening. This evening. But that's the first we've had rain in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, 42, I have been enjoying my Pims on the patio this week.
Oh, you're just right. That's exactly what this time of the year's for. Get out on the patio, have a nice wee drink, and enjoy the scenery and enjoy the heat.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. What's your take on the whole black hole Calcutta thing?
I find it very, very interesting. You know,
were you aware of the incident?
Yes, I've heard of it. Not in so much detail, I have to say. 42. I was getting a little bit confused about the numbers of people that were put in there.
Well, the proper figure was 127 put in, and there's like 21 come out, which gives you the death of about 100 people. But we have revisionist historians that fuck about with numbers and reduce them.
Well, it's a typical example, isn't it? I mean, you were saying it was 18 foot by 14 foot. I mean, how on
Yeah.
earth do you get 127 people in there unless they're midgets?
Well, or you're prepared to have them die.
Was this over a period of time, or
No,
at one time?
they shoved them all. They shoved them all at the same time.
Right. Well, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. Hold on, I'm just getting the numbers back. Yep. It was 5.4 meters by 4.2 meters. And the temperature had around 40 degrees because whenever you've got a lot of people in a small place. And let's see. I'm trying to find the numbers.
Don't worry too much, 42.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a mild question about, well, could they actually fit that amount of people into that space? That's all I was thinking. It's
well, it's amazing how many people you can fit in this small space if you've got guns and you're telling them to get in. And the people at the door are more worried about the people behind them shooting them than they are trampling on the people that's already in there. And then what you'll find is that, see, with the Hillsborough disaster, most of those people died of suffocation. So what happens is, most of the cause of death from most of the Hillsborough disaster, people were suffocation. Because what happens is, you have
people get on top of one another.
Yes.
And you can't breathe anymore.
Yes, then you can't breathe anymore. Then you suffocate.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So what they have done is they have put, and I would put money on it that the last 20 odd people that went in are the 20 odd people that come out.
I think that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
They'll be pushed in. There'll be a number of people around the edges that are standing up. There'll be a number of people that are being squashed and trampled. And this is all going to be, it's going to be a noisy, confusing event at the end. And then what happens is people go down, people are standing on top of them, and then they suffocate. And then the other thing is, if you're in there from 7 in the evening to 6 in the morning, and halfway through the night you find that you've got a little bit more space than you have, you're just glad that you've got that little bit more space. And in the dark, you don't realize that the reason why you've got a bit more space is because there's a pile of bodies that's growing in the middle. And whenever they open the doors, they find the bodies in a pyramid, which is incidentally the same pyramid that supposedly was found in gas chambers. But that's a whole other thing.
Well, I know we shouldn't go on to that one.
No.
Tonight. No. But no, the other thing is, of course, 42. If you're in that situation, you're basically going to be fighting for your life, which is a natural instinct. So, you know, you're going to be hitting other people, and you know, I want to be on top. Basically, I think that's only natural.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you've seen the way people go with their elbows in the queue for a bus. See, whenever it's to get enough place to actually breathe. Yeah.
Well, yeah, on the London Underground as well. I mean, that gets violent sometimes. Thankfully, I don't go on the London Underground very much these days, but well, never mind. Well, anyway, 42.
Yes.
I mean, I'm happy to carry on if you want. I know it's getting a bit late, but let me know.
No, I'm happy enough. If you've said what you wanted to say, I'm happy enough. I'm gonna wrap this up shortly anyway. But it was good to get you on, get a bit of your thoughts about Stonehenge. And
Well, okay.
I
Well,
will,
just lastly, yeah,
yep,
on that subject, I did mention in the chat that a friend of mine was a chief druid,
yes.
and he ran an awful lot of those,
Sorry,
traditional gatherings
right.
at
Sorry.
Stonehenge.
One second. Real Vincent Griffin, it's saying your devices are not connected, mate. You need to get a microphone at least plugged in. That's going to work. Okay, so it's not that I'm not letting you on. It's giving me you're not connected. Sorry, Rory. Carry on.
No, I was just
Yep.
mentioning, yeah. My
Yep.
friend, his name was Barry. Well, I can tell you his name, Barry Goddard. Actually, he was a chief druid, and he ran an awful lot in his younger days. Ran an awful lot of those gatherings at Stonehenge at the summer solstice and such as that, and had a great time. I know I was old. I'm old enough, 42, to remember when you could just walk into Stonehenge for free and go up to the stones. And I think it was a local council. They decided, someone had graffitied on it.
No, I'll tell you why you can't go in there now, because it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about the reason that they came up with.
No, the reason.
Carving the initials into it and spraying graffiti on it. And they said, no, we've got to stop this.
No, that's not the reason. UNESCO World Heritage Sites are basically a way of putting a set of rules onto everything. And they'll just go, yeah, this is our World Heritage Site. We've claimed it. And people are not going onto that.
All right. Yeah, okay, no, I'll rephrase that. The excuse they gave was because of that.
Yep. It's really interesting. The Mourne Mountains are being declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it looks like the rules that they're going to be coming in will be only camp in designated camp spots, because a lot of people would have went up while camped and then walked on. That'll be banned. Don't walk over the gorse and the heath, stay the paths only and all that sort of stuff. That's the way UNESCO do things.
Well, I'm sure you're right on that one.
Yeah, but the also Heritage England aren't always the best at allowing people access to stuff. And of course, the first thing they'll do is to conserve the area. The first thing they'll do is put a visitor centre beside it, and that's how you get in and out.
Well, it's similar to the National Trust fortitude, in this country. I mean, there was an article some years ago about how, the directors or the managers of it, they all get these enormous National Trust houses which they can live in for free. That's like part of their salary.
Yeah.
Or income, and it's ridiculous. It's probably like a £6 million house or something that they can live in.
Yeah.
Not part of, anyway.
Yeah, and they'll say that it needs to be lived in to be kept maintained and all that sort of stuff.
That kind of thing, yes, indeed.
And you want to come visit, look at this stuff. Here's the entrance. Here's the exit. Here's the gift shop. Let's make some money out of this shit.
Yes, absolutely. Did you have someone else who wanted to come on? What did you?
Real Vincent Griffin was trying to come in, but his mic and or camera weren't connected. So
okay. Just asking. That was all.
He he popped in, but he wasn't connected, so couldn't bring him along, and he hopped out again. There's a possibility if he can sort his issues with the mic or whatever, he can pop back in. But he probably these things are quite StreamYard's quite temperamental. It either likes what you're trying to connect or doesn't, and if it doesn't connect once, it'll probably not connect the next time.
Right, sorry.
Right.
I thought I'd lost you there for a moment. Sorry.
Right, sorry. No, I was reading the comments. The graffiti was 6.57 kick to kill. It was out of order, but a point of focus. I have no idea what that means. I know what 7.62 means, but don't know what 6.57 means.
No, I don't understand that either.
No. But you do understand 7.62?
Absolutely. And 0.303. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. There we go. One thing about going back to Stonehenge, 42, is how on earth did they manage to move those stones from Wales to Wiltshire 4,000 years ago? I mean, that is just beyond belief to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
the idea
do we have the wheel back then, or was it on like logs or something?
Logs that you a lot of logs that you continually bring the back one to the front.
Well, that's what I thought. But I mean,
it's a hell of a distance.
But you must be talking 100 miles at least to do that.
Yeah, and never mind that. How did they get those capstones on?
Oh, to lift them up.
Right. Yeah. No. To be fair, see they get the long straight stones to stand. Oh.
Yeah. Once you've buried.
Right. Hold on. One second. Portsmouth hooligans. The 6:57 was a train time. Right, the 6:57 was that was the time that the train left to bring football supporters back home. So that graffiti was referenced to football hooligans. Right, see to get the standing stones to stand up. If you get earth or clay and build that up in a slope, and you have your stone onto that slope, and then apply some weight to the stone, it goes over the top and it flips up and it'll stand. Hopefully, because if it goes forward, it's going to crush whatever the reason to put weight in the front of it. So getting them to go up, that would be the easy bit. But how they got the capstones up to the top, that's a question.
Edmund 184 made an interesting comment in the chat some minutes ago.
Yes,
he said they used migrant workers. That was a good one. Oh dear.
Yeah. How did you get them across the River Severn?
That's a good point.
But then, how did they make Salisbury Hill? You know, these people obviously knew things that we don't.
Well, they obviously, yeah. Yeah, exactly. They must have gone up to, gosh, Herefordshire or somewhere to get them across. But or maybe on boats. Who knows?
Yeah. They did have boats and understood the tides.
Oh, there's a Welshman telling you the truth. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben SPQ is saying that they used sound or something. I honestly don't know how to tell it. I think the most logical thing would have been with the logs and rolling them across the top, but and how long did it take them? Because you're not doing that in a day. And all the time that you spend working on that is time that you're not spending on hunting and gathering. And at that time, if you're not hunting and gathering, you're not eating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. At a guess for two, I'd say what, maybe 50 years, perhaps, off the top of my head.
You're in the two generations anyway.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I wonder if anyone's done any research on it, actually. How long did it take Stonehenge to be built? I mean, I haven't, right? Myself. That would be
there wasn't that
interesting to find out.
And that thing that I was reading, it does say it was done in stages over a large number of years, but it became to. I'm going to have a look at that for next year and see if I can get it cut down to something that's understandable. But Sansom's making a good point there. He says, "Don't believe what BNS PQ says. It was Amazon 24-hour delivery." Yep. I'll need to look into, because David's saying they did reconstructions, but it failed. I remember hearing something about that. Yeah.
I mean, you have some monuments in Ireland, don't you, 42, which are much older than Stonehenge.
Well,
you must know something about how they were built.
Well, Newgrange, it seems that what they did was Newgrange, the stones are a lot smaller than they are at Stonehenge, and there's a lot more of them. And it seems that they put all the stones in the precision and then covered it with earth. And it's like a mound with a stone inner structure and a passageway that goes through the middle with alcoves on either side. We do have quite a lot of standing stones, but none of them would be the size that Newgrange or Stonehenge is. Like the one close to me at the Giant's Ring, which is standing stones with a capstone, but it would be 70 foot high.
Okay.
So I can understand, on one level, I can understand that if you have a bunch of people and you can dig the earth and make a mound, that you could potentially get a large stone up that height on the earth, put it into place by sliding, and then dig the earth back out, which would leave you your standing stones. But on the size of Stonehenge, I don't have no clue how they manage that.
The interesting thing I find, point two, about those two monuments is that they're both directed at the summer solstice to give
Yep.
a certain view. So you have to think to oneself that there had to be some connection between those peoples.
Oh, the
to
100%.
do that.
Yep. The other not only are they connected to Solstice, they're all those monuments with standing stones that there are right across Britain. They all have circles.
Oh, yes. I mean, there are many. Yeah, we have
Yep.
some. Yeah, Westbury, and places like that.
Yep. They're
and burial mounds.
Yep. You can see that there is a common theme of how they do things, which means they're the same people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are the
From
same people.
from Scotland to Ulster, there's points at which the distance is 12 miles. You can see Ulster. You can see Ulster from Scotland, Scotland from Ulster.
Right.
The idea that these people weren't mixing with each other, particularly whenever at that stage we genuinely did need other people, because if people didn't gather together and do stuff, everybody died.
Well, exactly. You look after yourself, don't you? You look after your own people. That's my point.
Yeah.
As we should do now, today.
Oh, definitely we have to. We've got two choices in all of this. We can hang tight together or get strung up alone.
Absolutely.
That's your choices.
Yes, indeed. Oh, here's a. Oh, hold on a minute. What's that? Traffic Village is on again.
Yep, those Asian people, though, without JCBs, probably had higher IQ than most now, especially the hands-on stuff.
Well.
Oh well, here's the thing. See all the post holes that there is around it. What if they were for very long poles and they created some form of a crane?
There must have been some type of leverage system to them up, definitely.
Right,
plenty of trees around, to do that.
They have no real explanation for the two sets of holes that are circular around the outer thing. They're saying they're possibly like post holes, but what if those things were all the poles went up, they were lashed together, and they created some form of a crane, probably working on a cantilever thing where you put weight on one end, and there has to be
exactly. Yeah, that would make sense. Another thing I wanted to say, 42, is just down the road from Stonehenge, a local farm. It's probably a mile or so down the road, but at the other side of the road, and he's built he's called Woodhenge, and he's basically built a replica of Stonehenge in wood on his land, and you get these tourists coming down, and they don't know whether it was Stonehenge or Woodhenge. So he gets all these tourists coming in to view Woodhenge. I find it so amusing. What a great guy to do that. It's like, tell them to get in. Yeah, this is Woodhenge.
Yep, come along. Here's my gift Here's my gift shop.
Right, exactly.
There's there's a low bridge on a road outside Belfast. I'm not going to name the road because I can't even really remember, but there's a low bridge, and like 4 times a year, a lorry gets stuck on it, right? And so it's now been put on Google Maps with the wee information on it says low bridge,
Okay.
which is being put on for to tell people that are planning their route with lorries or high vehicles to avoid that road. Well, fuck, somebody left a review on Google Maps on it. It's 1 star. It's just a bridge. They turned up at it thinking it was a tourist attraction. I'm going to go and see this low bridge. And they put on it, oh, it's just a bridge.
Right. Oh dear. No, that's a good story.
Yeah. Right. It's coming up on 1 o'clock. I'm going to wrap this up unless you have anything that you need to get off your chest.
No, not really 42. I wouldn't mind giving a little shout out to the Woodlander.
Yep.
His initiative. He's raised, I think, nearly 30,000 in the last few days, which is rather impressive. But no, I'm very much behind him and what he's doing for our community.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's really interesting what he's doing, and I wish him all the best with his project. Where it actually ends up going or how it ends up going, nobody knows. But unless somebody actually takes a plunge and tries something like that, we'll never know. I'll tell you what it is. It's 100% better than doing nothing.
Well, also, I mean, it's very early days. He's only been doing it for, what, 4 days now, and it got an awful lot of interest. So good for him, and I would let's support him. I think having a share in your own land is something I would love to have.
Yep. I totally agree with you.
You should have him on your channel, 42.
I have actually. I was going to get him on before, and we just didn't manage to get a time or date sorted out. But I will attempt to at some stage. I'll get an email off him or something.
It would be worth talking to him, before you do about plant Ulster and what land's available in Ulster. Again, I'd say it's very early days yet, but you can say, well, look, this is the price of land or woodland in Ulster. If I can get 100 people together, let's do it.
Yeah, see, it takes somebody with a bit of a skill set and a mentality to do that, and that ain't me. You honestly don't want to be involved in something that has that amount of weight behind it that I'm organizing, because I will fuck it up.
Well, okay, but
yeah, it's sometimes good to know your limits.
Sure. But 42, you can promote the message, and if you promote the message, there might be somebody else who comes who can do that.
Yep. 1 second. 1 second. How can we find out where Raymond is? Sorry to put it on you, but I can't do anything. I'm quite worried. Linda, are you in the Scrubs Lifeboat? Or are you on Telegram? Or tell you what, Linda, do us a favor. In the description, my email addresses are. I'm not quite sure what it is you're totally talking about. So shoot me off an email and I'll see what I can find out for you. I know Raymond, but I didn't know that he was on the missing list or what the crack is. But if you email me on that, we'll have a bit of a chat and I'll see what I can find out for you. Right, sorry about that, Roy.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's getting on nearly 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Couple of questions in the chat. Ben SPQ says, Roy, do you have the owner of the project's email?
Would that be Woodlanders?
Well, that's what I'm presuming. No, I'm afraid I don't. But it's the website is woodlanderinitiative.com, I believe, off the top of my head.
Right, hold on. Right. I'm going to see if I can find that.
Well, while you're doing that, there's another one. Paul here says, Rory Herbert should be Prime Minister. Well, that's extremely kind of you, Paul, but I'm not sure I'm up for that at the moment. Although I'd like to take out the present one and Keir Starmer.
Right.
Oh, Ben's just replied. He said we found the form to email him. No worries. So we're okay on that one.
Right. Hold on. Right. Here is a link for the Woodlander initiative. If anybody wants to find out about that, that's a link to the project. It's got the guy's face on it. It's legit. And you can find out what you need to find out from there. I would say
42's just put it in the chat as well.
Yeah.
And Streaky Bacon, yes, I'm looking forward to being your neighbour.
Yep. Right. That's that link in the chat. Yes. Rory and Streaky neighbours. I reckon it would be a right laugh being neighbours with Streaky. I think I could get funny. Because he is very good with the banter. Nah. What was I need to do? Yeah, I need to go back to this. And with that, the link that I'm bringing up for the outro keeps on fucking playing. It's doing my head in. Settle toffee. Right. Right. With that, I'm going to wrap this up now. Okie dokie, Mr. Herbert.
Yep. Good night, 42. Thank you so much for having me on.
As always, an absolute pleasure talking to you.
And an absolute pleasure talking to you as well. Yeah. Good night for that.
Good night. Right. Oh, and something I've never done before. Putting in the link for the outro. This is a guy that obviously makes music because going for an outro. He's got, I reckon, 17 subs. If anybody wants to go over and sub this guy, I think you'll like his stuff. I'm gonna need to get it right. He is called Justice Kane, and he does good music. So, where are we? Dystopia, Myopia. We'll play the outro. And we'll put your comments up on the
Here,
screen.
let me hold open the door for you. Don't let me keep you from their future. You've got a ticket on that freedom train, but where you're going will be totally insane. The little boy knows the king ain't wearing no clothes, but you can see past the end of your nose. It's all been designed by a tainted mind. They're building up the prison wall one brick at a time. My diagnosis is keep taking the red pill. You got Dystopia, Myopia.
So,
You got Dystopia, Myopia. There really isn't any hope for you. You got Dystopia, Myopia. You got Dystopia, Myopia. There really isn't any hope for you. It's a disease of the mind, infecting all mankind. Remember how you used to join up all the dots? It would reveal the hidden picture. Now the time has come to think outside the box, 'cause you've been hoodwinked by the evil trickster. The little boy knows the king ain't wearing no clothes, but you can see past the end of your nose. It's all been designed by a tainted mind. They've been building up the prison wall one brick at a time. My diagnosis is keep taking the red pill. You got this myopia. You got Dystopia, myopia. Reason hope for you. You got Dystopia, myopia. You got Dystopia, myopia. Close your eyes now, everything will be okay. It'll be okay. If you don't think about it, it will all just go away. Go away. So close your eyes now, everything will be okay. If you don't think about it, it will all just go away. Go away. Go away. It's a disease of the mind, infecting all mankind. You got Dystopia, myopia. Well, you got Dystopia, myopia. There really isn't any hope for you. You got Dystopia, myopia. You got Dystopia, myopia. Really isn't any hope for you. Disease of the mind, infecting all mankind. Dystopia, myopia.
right, people, that last link I put in is where you go to sub to that channel. And good night, God bless. I've been 42. You people in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Good night. God bless. See you all next week. I'm out of here. Gone. Bye.